What is up, guys? It's your boy here, Jersey Flex, back with another great video. If you're new to this channel, make sure you guys go click that subscribe button. I promise it'll make your balls bigger, make you 10 times more handsome. So welcome to this channel. As you guys could tell by the title of this video, today we are going to be talking about the best anabolic steroid cycles for strength gains. And that also goes hand in hand with lean muscle tissue growth as well. So, strength increase normally leads to muscle tissue growth. Basically, when you're performing these exercises with proper form, you're going to build muscle tissue with protein synthesis and all that stuff. So these are what in the bodybuilding world would be considered bulking cycles. So I'm going to name all the different compounds in this guide to anabolics. And if you haven't checked the previous video on test base, go check that out. That was part 1, because most of these compounds mentioned in this video, you're going to want to run it with a testosterone base. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. And also, down in the description below, I left a link to Vintage Muscle. It's a company that I've partnered with that sells quality legal pro hormones. So go check out Vintage Muscle. It's down in the description below. Without wasting any more time, let's roll that intro. Boom!
Maybe it's a new beginning. Maybe it's the start of where it ends. I know. There's no going back, and I'm loving the chase.
Alright guys, welcome back to the video. As you could tell by that little intro video, I'm not a doctor, I'm a gym bro. Wear a gold chain, not a stethoscope. I say this in the beginning of every single video so that way you guys know that this video is strictly made for educational purposes and entertainment only. If you are considering doing any of the dumb shit mentioned in this video, please seek the attention of a medical professional, a doctor. Steroids should be something that's only done under doctor supervision. This video is just to inform you from my years of experience being involved with the gym. So, let's talk about some of the main compounds that you typically see for bulking cycles. So as I mentioned earlier in this video and in the previous part of this series, a testosterone base is very important for running these compounds because testosterone is going to produce estrogen, and very few of these compounds will aromatize into estrogen. You do have D-bol, you do have other testosterone derivatives that will convert to estradiol to a certain degree, but like trenbolone, for instance, won't. So that is something you definitely need a test base for. So every cycle should always have a good test base. And that being said, the ratio that you combine these compounds should be a 2-to-1. So let's say DECA. Let's say you choose DECA-durabolin to be your compound for building mass in the off season. You want to have a 2-to-1 ratio. So if you're doing 500 testosterone, you could do 250, 300 DECA. And that's typically the rule of thumb with any of these compounds, tren as well, and so on and so forth, except for orals. Orals are kind of on their own, 20 to 50 milligram tablet type of bullshit, which I'm going to explain. So testosterone base, that's key number 1. And then some of these compounds, I would not combine them. Some of the lucky people out there with really good genetics, they can combine the two compounds I just mentioned, which is DECA-durabolin, otherwise known as DECA, with trenbolone. Combining those two, even with a good testosterone base, and you're taking all the other supplements to help your kidney function, renal function, liver, etc., you're drinking plenty of water, covering all your bases, clean diet. The thing is, those two are so suppressive that it can make it really hard to bounce back your natural testosterone levels, or even on a PCT, it could lead to a permanent long-term shutdown, and DECA for long durations is not really something you would want to do. MPP is a good alternative because you get less of the water retention and it gets out of your system faster. DECA stays in your system for a long period of time. So now to answer the real question of this video, I'm just going to go down in a list and name the compounds that I would say are good for building mass. You have your trenbolone, D-ball, Anavar could be good, but that's something more for cutting. Primo and MPP. So those would be probably the ones, and a good hefty dose of testosterone accompanied with that is honestly what I would deem as the best thing for building mass. And now let's go into kind of discussing how you can combine these compounds. So now let's kind of talk about my favorite combination for bulking and gaining size. My favorite is probably the combination of a strong test base, which I've mentioned, D-ball as a pre-workout, or I sometimes might substitute that with Anavar alongside with trenbolone. Now, a lot of people are very susceptible to the side effects psychologically that trenbolone can produce. Me, not so much unless I push a dose higher than 200 milligrams a week, which I never have. But I noticed that at 200 milligrams, I started getting kind of the night sweats, the tremors. It started kind of increasing my anger levels. So trenbolone, I want to keep it 200 being the max, but not for a long period of time, down below to like 100, 150, something like that. If I could do 50 milligrams a week, I would, because tren is one of those beautiful things that you don't really need a whole lot of it to get the result you're looking for. So I would keep the test at about 300 at the start of the cycle, 500 at the peak of the cycle, and then tren, I would keep it between 100 to 150 weekly, and this is weekly speaking, and 20 milligrams of D-ball pre-workout to kickstart the cycle. And I would only do that for maybe about a week, maybe two, because I do all long esters. I don't do tren ace. I don't do proper sip. I do test E. So it kind of takes maybe a little while for that stuff to really kick in, unless you've been taking testosterone regularly as TRT. It's already in your system. So that's basically my personal favorite thing. And D-ball will give a lot of water retention, so that's not really something I want to do in the summertime if I'm trying to put on size. More so something in the real off season where I'm not really giving too much of a shit. And so Anavar is kind of more of like not as strong in terms of strength gains. It does have a lot of nitrogen retention, so I would say about 25 to 50 milligrams pre-workout. That's something that I would promote, because it does dry you out. It's a DHT derivative, so there's not going to be as much water retention as you would get with D-ball. So now let's talk about some of the other cycles, or some of the other strength gaining cycles I've seen online, but not so much that I have done through personal experience, just buddies of mine, and also things I've seen online of people doing that have been pretty successful. So the other cycle could be testosterone combined with primobolan. Primo is more of a fancier type of little cherry on top that you could throw on to testosterone. The only issue is one of the big side effects of Primo is your wallet is going to suffer quite a lot, because it's an expensive compound, which also means that it's counterfeited quite a lot. People will try to sell you something and claim that it's primobolan, and it's really not. So you got to be careful with that. Unless you have a testing kit or it's coming from a pharmaceutical grade source, you don't really know for sure. So be mindful of that. So testosterone with Primo. And Primo, side note, was one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's one of his favorite compounds that he would do in the off season as well. So it's a very well-known golden era steroid that's been around since the start of anabolics. And then Primo combined with Deca Durabolin, that is a very popular cycle right there. And D-ball could also be used to kickstart the cycle, but you do want to be very careful, because liver enzymes will get real elevated with tren, with Deca, and D-ball in itself is methylated testosterone, which was originally designed for the US to compete against the Soviets in the Olympics. But that methylated testosterone is very, very liver toxic, so please be mindful of that. D-ball is also shunned against in most bodybuilding communities because of the estrogenic side effects it has. It's methoestradiol, twice as strong as regular estrogen. So if you're real sensitive to estrogen side effects, it's not really something you want to be doing. You don't want to have bitch tits, gyno, or develop any of those kind of estrogenic side effects. Also, the water retention will increase blood pressure. But in terms of strength gains, which this video is all about, DECA, phenomenal strength gains due to its water retention. D-ball, same thing. You have nitrogen and water retention in the muscles. As far as trenbolone goes, tren is king. I mean, you're able to build muscle, burn body fat simultaneously. It's one of those rare compounds. I think it's honestly the only compound, unless you have tremendous genetics, where you can build muscle, burn body fat at the same time. You know, you're losing weight, but your muscles are getting bigger. You're getting more vascular, you're getting stronger, but you're losing weight. It's one of the most diverse and versatile steroids, in my opinion, is trenbolone. So definitely good for cutting, contest prep, good for off season. It's good for everything. The only issue is the greater the drug, the greater the strength of the anabolic is, the greater the side effects. Tren has a tremendous amount of side effects that I will discuss later in this series when we move on to discuss trenbolone as a whole. So now that this video has covered basically all the different types of cycles you could do with strength gaining, because I figured testosterone base would be the most important thing to talk about. Now we're going to talk about what can you use to build muscle and strength. Now in the next parts of this series here, part 3 and so on, we're going to discuss different steroid profiles. So in our following video, we're going to talk about trenbolone, and then I believe in the next one it's Anavar, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do one part of this series discussing each and every compound, leading towards the end, which I'm going to later discuss a post-cycle therapy, PCT. So stay tuned to this channel. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Don't forget, down in the description, I have a link to Legal Quality Pro Hormones that you guys can check out by Vintage Muscle. But don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's roll that outro. Boom!